Join with me in a few moments of silence as we prepare our hearts for receiving today's message. Lord, we ask your presence here among us by the power of the resurrected Jesus Christ, through the intervention of your Holy Spirit. Be with us today. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. I'll tell you a good story about a Methodist minister by the name of Gary Patterson. Gary was in the southeast jurisdiction, which are the deep southern states of the United States, and he was assigned to this little country church that was way out in the middle of where. And it was hot that particular Sunday. It was his first Sunday there, and it was Easter. Now, that's kind of unusual in the Methodist church because we usually transfer on the 1st of July, but Gary accepted this responsibility on Easter Sunday. It was his first sermon ever. It was a small country church, maybe electricity, no telephones, sweltering hot. And there were about 50 or 60 people there, which was their average on Easter Sunday. Since this was Gary's first sermon, he wanted to really impress them. And so he gave it all to them. He was feeling pretty good about his sermon, and he's thinking to himself when the sermon was over, that was pretty good. But about that time, a middle-aged woman sitting with her elderly mother stood up in the back, and she began screaming, "My mother is dead! My mother is dead!" Well, Gary was in shock. He's thinking, man, my first sermon, I killed somebody. Or no, wait, maybe this is a Pentecostal church, he thought. Well, she kept saying it, "My mother is dead! My mother is dead!" And the place was in chaos. Everything was frantic. One couple ran out the front door. Remember, there was no telephone. They ran out the front door, down the block, and they were going to call for an ambulance. Everybody was trying to figure out what to do, where to go, who to see, when all of a sudden this strange voice appeared. And the voice came from the alleged dead woman. She had opened her eyes, and she looked around, and she was both bewildered, puzzled, and annoyed. And she said, "Now, you all hush now. You're making too much noise. Hush." Well, there was hushed silence. As you could imagine, it was more like shocked silence. As it turned out, she was fine. But Gary's thinking, well, if my sermon has the power to kill, does it also have the power to resurrect? As it turned out, since it was so sweltering hot in that particular sanctuary, the elderly lady was overcome by a little bit of heat and took a little bit of snooze. Her daughter had misinterpreted what was going on and had said the wrong thing. If you've ever been in small congregational churches, you know odd things happen from time to time. Did you hear the story about the Arkansas physician who was attending the emergency room? And the husband brought his wife in. She was not doing well, and the doctor had pronounced her as dead. And he went back out of the emergency room and told the surviving spouse, grief-stricken with his family, he went home. Could you imagine the surprise when the nurse, the attending nurse in the same emergency room, went back to the doctor and she said, "Doctor, you better come and look at this lady once again." And she was not dead. She was alive. The embarrassed doctor said, "Well, what should I do now?" And the nurse said, "You better call the surviving family and let them know." So the doctor picked up the telephone and he called. The husband answered the phone and he said, "I need to talk with you about your condition of your wife." And the husband said, "Condition of my wife? What do you mean? She's dead?" And he said, "No, there's been a slight improvement." But what an understatement that had to be. You know, in today's world, in the medical world, you can be dead for three reasons. You can be dead because of circulatory, you can be dead because of heart, and you can be brain dead. Depending on which medical school you go to, that's what they do. In today's world, once they pronounce you dead, you're pretty dead. The French word is finite. The German word is when you're dead, you're dead. With one exception. One exception. It happened on a hillside just outside of Jerusalem, some 2,000 years ago. In the biblical books that we find with Matthew and Luke and John, the Mark chapter that we read for ourselves, they differ somewhat in details. One book has 2 angels ascending. One book has no angels ascending. And one has the one that we read today was inside the tomb. The other one has an angel sitting on the stone outside of the tomb. And that's probably as good as we could expect when you're talking about eyewitness accounting. Everybody sees it just a little differently than everybody else. But this is the first day of the week. Now, for we Gentiles, that means Sunday. Jewish Sabbath has just passed. There are 3 women, according to Mark. There is Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome. And they are bringing spices and ointment and bandages. And what they're come to do is they come to mummify the body of Jesus Christ. 3 days have passed since the crucifixion scene, and these women are still in grief, are still heart-wrenched, broken about the loss of not only their friend and their teacher, but also their rabbi. While approaching the tomb, the 3 are talking among themselves, and they're saying, well, who will roll away that stone? Well, let me tell you what that stone is. In the soft limestone hillside of Jerusalem, they have carved out cavities. We call them tombs. They're probably maybe 3 foot high in the opening, maybe 2.5, 3 foot wide. And they put the body in there, and to keep wild animals and grave robbers from violating the body, they rolled this huge stone over the mouth of that opening. It was too big for these 3 women to move. So they're wondering who is going to move that stone for them. But to their amazement, when they get there, the stone is already rolled away. Entering the tomb, the 3 women see a man dressed in glorious white raiment. We would call him an angel. And they're frightened. And the angel speaks to them and says, please don't be afraid. You are seeking Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. He is risen. He is not here. Go and tell his disciples that Jesus goes before you into Galilee, and he will meet you there. And thus fulfills the prophecy of the Old Testament in Isaiah. Death is swallowed up in victory. That is the one essential message. If I get nothing across to you other than this, the one essential message on Easter Sunday morning is that this is why you come. This is why you have arrived here, that death has been defeated. Jesus Christ is alive. Alive through you, alive through your hearts, through your families, through other churches and synagogues around our country. Now, of course, we have to realize that Christ's victory does not have the same meaning or impact upon us as it did with our parents, and let me tell you why. Death was a very close companion to persons of past generations. The average lifespan was very short. Fatal diseases were almost catastrophic in those days. Many, many families would lose an infant child or 2 in their early years while still an infant. People died at home in those days, not at some distant hospital or other facility. Death was very real. much more real for our ancestors than it is for us today in the 21st century. You know, we have become experts at denying the aging process. We have gone to trouble to delay our mortality. Children born, so I'm reading in some articles, children born in 2012 will probably have a life expectancy of over 100 years. People born this year, they live to be 100. With developments in organ transplant, with developments in better health awareness, improved nutrition and medication in our world today, living to be 100 might be a conservative number for those being born now. We have learned how to delay dying. Did you hear the story about the man who was arrested for selling youth pills? He promised to all of his customers, if you take these pills regularly, you will never grow old. Well, he was booked at the local police station. They did a background check and found that the same man had been arrested for the same charge in 1776, 1812, and 1903. Worked for him, didn't it? In our culture today, and I can safely say in our hedonistic culture today, many people dread aging more than they dread dying. Jonathan Swift, one of my favorite authors, is the author of a marvelous little satire called Gulliver's Travels. And he's dealing with much of the same dilemma in one of the chapters. In Swift's fantasy, he writes that every 3 or 4 generations, a child is born that has a red dot right in the middle of its forehead. And that red dot signifies that that child will never die. Gulliver imagines that these children born with these red dots on them are the most fortunate people in the entire world. In fact, he writes this, born exempt from that universal calamity of human nature called death. But when Jonathan Swift, as his own character in the book, goes to meet these people with the red dots on their foreheads, they are in fact the most miserable and most pitiable of all creatures on the face of this earth. They continue to grow old, but grow old very slowly. And they grow feeble very slowly. Their friends and their acquaintances all have died off. At the age of 80, these people with the red dots on their foreheads, all of their property is taken away from them and divided among their children, or otherwise they would not have an inheritance. Their bodies continue to contract various ailments. They accumulate grudges. They accumulate grievances throughout their life. And they grow weary, struggling with all of life, but they can never look forward to being released from the pain of living. Thus, there may be many things in our world that we dread more than physical death in our lives. For many of us, death is something far removed from our daily life. It has not the biting reality of the 21st century that it has had on our ancestors. Until we confront our own mortality on that day that Christ comes back to us individually. So no, we don't think too much about death in the same way as our previous generations have before us. But still, there is something about Easter. There's still something about Easter that brings us to this place and other churches and synagogues around the world. Perhaps it's not the avoidance of death that we're looking for at all. Perhaps it is rather the hope that the Easter message offers to all of us. And that is the great, great news that I share with you this day. Because he lives, the song says, I can face tomorrow. Easter is an affirmation of Christ's presence in our lives today. I think it's a good thing that we do know and that we take it into our heart that Christ lives. I want us to share in the joy that Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James, and Salome felt on that morning when they went to anoint and mummified the body of Christ, we found that he had already risen from the dead. See, Christ lives in our hearts. Christ lives in our mind. Christ lives in our soul. Thus, we keep the image and the person of Jesus Christ alive in the world today. We know that physical death can no longer contain him. Final story this morning told by a non-true story. She said that just a few weeks before Easter in 2008, there was a horrible accident that took place in her community. One of her pupils' father was in the backyard. He had raked up some leaves and twigs and was going to set them on fire when he accidentally caught himself on fire, and he was burned horribly. They took him to the emergency room, and he did die as a result of those burns. Naturally, the family went into deep shock. The nun and the priest went to their home regularly to seek to minister to that particular family. But the family was so deeply in shock and so hurting over the loss that they did not respond positively to guests and visitors. And the fact that the accident had happened at home in their own backyard made the situation even worse. The man's wife was so distraught that she could not go out the back door of her home out to the garden where the accident had taken place. And to make matters worse, when she looked out of her kitchen window, she could see exactly the spot in front of the garden where her husband had died. It brought back a terrible memory for her. On Easter Sunday afternoon, this nun returned to the family once again. She was expecting to find a grief-stricken, shocked family. But when she was allowed into the door, she recognized that something was different about this house. There was not that feeling of gloom and doom that some people just have a unique sense. They can feel it, they can sense it inside of themselves. And she spoke to the wife when she came into the living room, and she said, "I sense that something has happened here. I can feel it. What is it?" To which the mother replied, "This morning my sister and neighbor came to visit with me. They asked me to go out into the garden for a breath of fresh air. I almost became hysterical at the thought of going out to the garden in that spot again. But they convinced me that it would help me if I went with them. I hesitantly went along. Slowly, as we walked out the back door, down the steps, and on to that pathway that led to that garden, it wasn't an easy thing for me to do. As we approached the spot where my husband had died, my whole body began to shake. She said, but suddenly from somewhere, I don't know how, I don't know why, I don't know where this word came to me, but she said, I heard these words through my husband's voice in my head. Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here. He is risen. At that very moment, she said, I felt as if the whole weight of the world were lifted from my shoulders. And I felt a great sense of joy and peace about that accident. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, young and old alike, as you are gathered here this morning, that is the meaning of Easter. Death has been conquered. We who believe in Jesus Christ, know His presence, know His forgiveness in our lives, can move on into the next existence. We can lift our eyes from our everyday problems and look to the possibilities that Christ Jesus offers for us. He is alive, and because He lives, we too can live. It's no wonder that Easter is such a special time for all of our family and friends that are here today. It is not a denial of physical death that's going to happen. It will likely happen to us. But it is a marvelous, victorious affirmation of life and the God who waits for us on the other side. He is risen. He is risen indeed. Would you bow your heads with me? those moments when we have accepted the resurrected Jesus Christ into our lives. We have a sense of peace and awe and comfort that only He can bring, and only He can offer. He has risen above it all, tempted as we, will remain perfect in His acceptance of God's will. We thank You for bringing these folks here this morning. May we share the good news as we leave this place. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. I'm going to ask you to stand with me.